All right. Welcome everybody live on Facebook. Super excited to be with you guys today in these very interesting and unprecedented times. So I'm going to take a quick peek and just see what the action looks like on Facebook before we jump in live. Thank you in advance for all the hearts and all the love. And for all my friends and clients and people in my community out there, it goes without saying, these are challenging times. And men and women, people like you and I, we were built for this, right? I was talking to one of my CEOs this morning, big shout out to Dan Forsman out in Georgia. And we were chatting about, the years that we have been doing affirmations, reading books, studying people, being coached, having mentors, going to seminars, doing this mental toughness training, doing my affirmations in the morning, doing my working out. We agree that we were doing those things not for the good times. We were doing it for moments just like this. You, my friend, watching this, you and I, we are lions and we are lionesses. We are not lambs. This is our time. This is where we step up. And today, I brought in two of my friends, experts, to help us understand and navigate literally the hour by hour, day by day market changes. Steve Harney, who we all know, who I've referred to as the Oracle for years, and David Childers, who's been working with him now for years, and someone that I have known and respected both his business mind and his understanding of the market. So I've got 4 questions that we want to go into. But first, let me just start by saying good morning to David and Steve. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here. So we got a lot of people watching right now, a lot of people that this conversation matters, right? I mean, no pun intended on keeping current matters, but boy, now more than ever, even just with what's happened this morning with interest rates, now more than ever, the smart agent who has the ability to help a client who in the right side of their brain is dealing with fear and emotion and panic and nervousness and anxiety, right? Sympathizing, empathizing, understanding, being able to listen, and then to logically take them over to the left side of their brain where we validate our decisions, where we make logical choices. That's what this is all about, right? So for all my friends that are out there watching, there's going to be basically 2 parts to this. One is going to be David has a bunch of slides prepared that you're going to be using to communicate both in social, in your marketing, in your email, and with your scripting. And Steven and him are going to be going back and forth on that. I've got 4 questions that I'm going to ask. I'm going to be looking inside the Facebook page for questions. It's going to be hard because we got a lot of things going on at once, but we want to make sure that, if you need a specific question answered, I know that Steve or David or myself or the KCM team will go through after this and address those questions with you one-on-one and share it with everybody. Then when this is done, when their section is done, I'm going to share with you as the head coach the 5 things that smart agents are doing right now. Smart agents. So I'm going to give you some coaching marching orders for the next 2 weeks to 30 days of what I expect everybody in our community to do, to be the voice of reason and to be the one that brings humanity to this time. Brings humanity to this time. This isn't just about sales and marketing, my friends. This is about being a difference maker and being a leader, being a lioness or being a lion. So with that said, let me pull up my questions for the guys and let's get right to it. So
Tom, before you get going, I just want to let everybody know because most of the people on here will know me. Everyone knows you. You're the famous one. But a lot of the people know me and not as many know David. I bumped into David about 12 years ago when the whole world was going crazy. I didn't really understand the mortgage side of it. I didn't understand the stock market side of it. So I hired David as a coach to get me through that so I can give great advice. Since that time, I've been trying to hire him, to come into the company because I knew something like this eventually was going to happen and we needed his expertise. He came on about 2 years ago and thank God he has, because through this, I pretty much understand the housing side of this whole thing. You understand the housing side of it. David gives us a little bit different perspective. He's got a degree from Georgia State in business, and he also was the national sales manager for one of the top 4 banks in the world. So his understanding of the stock market and financial markets and the mortgage side of it enables us to have both sides covered. And that's why I asked him to be with us today. So.
Outstanding. Thank you, Steve, for saying that. And so, David, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here and certainly excited, Tom. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. For us to be able today to talk about what's happening in the market, use relevant facts to build our market opinion out there is critical today. Things are changing and moving so fast. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me as a part of this conversation. And I look forward. I'm going to open up some of these slides in a minute. We'll kind of go back and forth on that. So thank you.
You got it. So why don't we start, guys, with the first question that's on a lot of people's minds, which is, 3 weeks ago, I'm talking with people who are saying, Ferry, listen to me. It's the global supply chain that's going to impact the world. And, these are some heavy CEOs and some very smart men and women, and not people that are negative in any way, shape, or form. But, we know that this is a global society. So the first question is, how is the global uncertainty impacting mortgage rates in this minute?
Sure. I'll start here. And I will say right now, we're seeing a time, and certainly, as people are talking to lenders, volatility like we've not seen in really forever. There are people that we stay in contact with that are experts in this area, and we're seeing things that are happening right now that we haven't seen before. So what I want to do is I want to kind of draw some correlations here and show a couple of things to people to help make that connection. So let me share slides real quick, and you guys can let me know if we're good there. Bear with me. All right, can you guys see that?
Yep. We see the first, what looks like the first slide for almost 50 years, the 30-year mortgage rate.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we're looking at right now in the stock market and the volatility, over the last 50 years, we've seen this relationship in the stock market between mortgage rates and treasuries. And what that means is, as we see volatility in the stock market, money literally moves from the stock market into the bond market, into U.S. treasuries, widely considered the safest investment in the world. And if we look back over the last 50 years, we can see there's this symbiotic relationship between the 10-year treasury and our 30-year mortgage rate. And I know there's a lot of questions. A lot of people see, well, the Fed dropped the interest rate or Fed funds rate, and what does that mean for interest rates? And yet we know that in the client questions that are out there, we can help them see or understand that it's related to the 10-year treasury, not the Fed funds rate. But the interesting piece here right now as we speak, and we were talking before this of changes even today, Steve, you've spent a lot of time in the last week just studying this relationship in the last week, because we've seen some things that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, go to that next slide, David. What we can see is that for the last 50 years, there was definitely a symbiotic relationship, meaning as people move money out of the stock market into the bond market, because there was so much demand, could lower the yield that people were getting. That would lower the treasury rate, and the real estate, the 30-year mortgage rate followed right behind it. Now, we blow up those last couple of years and then the last couple of months in that bigger circle there to let everyone say that 2 weeks ago, everyone in the world, 10 days ago, everyone in the world was saying that interest rates were going to drop dramatically, that we might even see below 3, because what they were looking at is a 50-year reporting that as the treasury went down, mortgage rates were going to follow it. And for the first time in history, I was on the phone just right before this with Jim McMahon, who probably understands the mortgage rate business or the mortgage rate history better than anyone I know in the world. He studied it all the way back to George Washington. And he said for the first time in his career, for the first time in a long time, what happened was the green line, the treasury dropped, and the mortgage rate did not follow it. It actually went a little bit in the opposite direction. So there were a lot of people 10 days ago, including me, saying, listen, guys, don't worry about it because the interest rate's going to take care of some of the challenges in the market. Well, that didn't happen. And when I was on the phone with Jim this morning, it didn't happen today either. So actually, the return on treasuries actually went up a little bit this morning, and interest rates shot up. When I asked Jim, again, probably the smartest guy I know on the subject, well, Jim, what does this mean in the future? His answer was, I have absolutely no idea. So what we have to do is we have to deal with that volatility. But remember, what we need to remember is that if someone is stuck with a 3.75 interest rate, that's not bad news. You know, we've been so long at an interest rate under 5 that especially millennials might think, well, they're right. That's what everyone has. We have to realize we're still at, you know, extraordinarily low interest rates. It's just there's going to be volatility over the next couple of weeks. You know, you don't need to slide, David, but the First American came out just yesterday saying once this thing settles down, we will see a drop in interest rates. But right now, the volatility is just based on the fact that no one really knows what's going to happen, and everyone's hedging toward the more conservative at this point.
Yeah. I've got another slide in here that I want to mention as we kind of come out of that, Steve, and you're right. Let's look at where we are right now in 30-year fixed rates, and that's what we're going to point to. And we know a couple of weeks ago, we had this moment where they were historically low at 3.29%, and they've inched up in the last 2 weeks. Just today, Freddie Mac posted 3.65, and we know even in the market and things we're seeing, it, you know, is fluctuating from there. And we're even in a time where in some of the folks that are on the call and lenders that you're working with, where we're seeing pricing in intraday, where we may start out somewhere, you know, a rate in the morning and be different in the afternoon. But to go back to what Steve said, the environment that we're in is looking to the future as a favorable rate environment outside of this volatility in each day. And so I want to pause for a second. I mean, Tom, you're talking to more agents and owners right now and kind of this interest rate equation. Are there things you're seeing or things out there that, you know, that you're hearing about this?
So I'm gonna save my comments, which I know Steve is gonna laugh. I'm gonna save my comments to the end because I do have some strong opinions on this and how we need to be messaging and communicating. But that's really going to be, David, where I'm going to cover at the end with the 5 actions.
Perfect.
And Tom, that's exactly what we need. We're going to give them information. You're going to tell them what to do with it, and that's exactly what we need.
Yeah. So more on interest rates, or should we talk about how the housing market has been impacted by? Again, I want to go back to left brain. We need more logic. We need more facts. We need more data, which I'm certainly going to talk about, but you guys are the sort of the kings of this. How has the market been impacted by previous stock market corrections or volatility just in general?
Sure. So we've got some visuals here that I think are going to help us really understand that and communicate it to clients. And right now in the market that we're in and the place that we're in, we all remember 2008, but as we start to study this, we've got to look at what was the market then, and I'm also going to draw a couple of correlations between what happened at 9/11 and the dot-com crash as well. So when we go back and we look at the housing and mortgage crash, what we know is that the S&P correction during that time was about 51%. And then over those same years, homes depreciated just under 20%. And in today's market, we remember that, consumers remember that. If you, those of you that read the KCM blog, and if you haven't, go back and read Monday's blog because we address this. The 5 reasons that we believe we are not, or we know that we're not in the situation today that we were in 2008 that relate to affordability and cash out refinances and appreciation and all the things that led up to that crash. But what I want to really bring into here is a quote from an economist really showing us the correlation between what we're experiencing today and 9/11. So let me read this real quick. It says, what 9/11 has in common with what is happening today is that this shock has also generated fear, angst, anxiety among the general public. People avoided crowds then as they believed another attack was coming and are acting the same today to avoid getting sick. And the same parts of the economy are under pressure. Airlines, leisure, hospitality, restaurants, entertainment, that discretionary spending that consumers have. Much more of what we're seeing today, like 9/11 versus 2008.
And Tom, you covered that in a recent post that you did, that you're
Yes.
seeing this as an event cycle, not a crash of, the financial systems, that it's much more like 9/11. And that's exactly what Mr. Rosenberg is saying too, that Dave is letting us see.
Yeah, there's no doubt, my friends, that, we did a training, all my coaching clients on the line know, we did a training yesterday, guys, called Negotiations in a Crisis. And the correlation between 9/11 and listen, we can go down the line tragically, Sandy Hook, Columbine. You can think of all these moments in time that as a society, our souls were rocked. And in those moments, we go right to that right side of our brain: fear, anxiety, stress, pressure, tension. And we're not thinking logically in any way, shape, or form. The sky is truly falling out right now for some people. And yet, I want to just reiterate, for you and I, as lions and lionesses, I'm going to keep beating that into your head. We need to be the ones that are calm. We need to be the ones that are over communicating. And we need to be the ones that are messaging, right, the data and the facts to help our buyers, our sellers, our family, our friends, our communities to make good decisions right now. But I'm getting ahead of myself because it's some of the things I'm going to be sharing today. So, I'm stealing this slide. David Rosenberg and I are 100% on the same page. This is way more like Sandy Hook or 9/11, or all my friends that have been in massive snowstorms for 2 weeks where their entire city shut down because people couldn't get outside. It's a lot like that as well, but a lot more fear and anxiety because of it.
Right.
And David, you did some work and said, let's see exactly what happened during the dot-com crash.
Yep.
Absolutely. So if we look at that compared to the way we just looked at 2008, it's interesting here. When we look at the 9/11 and dot-com crash, we see the S&P correction being around 45%, but we actually see home appreciation during that same time. Something that we want to share with clients out there. To your point, Tom, when that fear comes in, but then when we're faced with the facts, and every time I think about this, Tom, I think about you holding the phone there and doing that and saying, hey, here's what's out in the market. But what we know is that this analogy of 9/11 to what we're seeing today bodes much better for housing than 2008. And there are a lot of things that go into that too, from the recovery and in everything. But this message right here, to your point, Tom, the analytical piece of this is critical that we communicate that right now.
100%. Hey, Steve, could you also speak to, I want to remind everybody about how many homes in the U.S. right now have what percentage of equity? Can you just reaffirm that point for us, guys?
Sure. We're going to show you a slide in a little bit. As a matter of fact, David, why don't we pull that slide up? Let's pull up the total home equity cash out.
Yep.
All right.
Just a second. I'll pull that.
Put that in front of people. I want everyone to understand that one of the reasons this is not like 2008 is because we learned our lesson as homeowners in 2008. Back then, we were pulling money out of our houses like you couldn't believe. We used our house as ATM. We're taking the cash out of our appreciating asset and putting it into jet skis, new cars, lavish vacations. And we actually took out over that 3-year period, $824 billion in home equity. Right now, the last 3 years, we've done a fraction of that. $232 billion sounds like a lot of money, but when you compare it to the 824 right before the crash in 2008, we can see it's more than $500 billion less. All right, so what does that lead us to, what you were saying, Tom? First off, we got a lot more conservative as sellers, as homeowners, I should say. 37% of the homes in this country have no mortgage on them. So we don't have to worry about those people, running into a challenge. Of the remaining 63% of the homes, about a quarter of them have more than 50% equity. So now don't worry about the math. The KCM team already did that. What that leads us down to the bottom line, which was what your question was, Tom. Over 50% of the houses in our country today have more than 50% equity in them.
Yes.
So even if there was a dip in prices, and no one's projecting that at this point in time, but even if there was a dip in prices, the housing market could withstand that this time. It couldn't withstand that the last time.
So fellas, I want to just reiterate and ask a very direct question. Will a recession, the R word that we have all talked about so many times, will a recession cause a housing crash?
Yeah, Tom, that is the question. And I go back to, we get this a lot, but my mind goes back to the summit this past year. And if there's a topic that you've prepared people to be ready for, it's that. When we saw the yield curve inverted at the summit, and I remember, we talked a lot about that and people recording videos. So we're going to give an update to that. And I want to start really with a quote, but if you were there at the summit, you're well prepared here, but hang on for this because we're going to show you some good information. So let's start with this calculated risk quote from Bill McBride. It says, with the sudden economic stop and with many states shutting down by closing down schools, bars, and restaurants, my view is the U.S. economy is now in a recession and started this month. GDP will decline sharply in Q2, Goldman Sachs is forecasting that, and the length of the recession will depend on the course of this pandemic. So when we look at that visually, right now, what we're saying is, or what Bill's saying in that quote is, we're in a recession. And moving into second quarter, that will get deeper. And we certainly hope that this, I think all of our hopes is that this lasts shorter rather than prolonged. But in this Goldman Sachs forecast, we go into the third quarter and fourth quarter and show appreciation. And if you see the letters there at the bottom, or the words at the bottom of the screen, with further gains into 2021. So a strong outlook looking forward, and a positive projection going into that. And I'll tell you what, people, we're seeing agreement there. What we're trying to do at KCM is look for agreement, look for things that we can bring to that. And Wells Fargo agrees here and says, we don't expect a repeat of the severe recession of 2008 and 2009 because the virus and oil shocks are not endemic to the financial system, but are rather external. Once the virus infection rate peaks, we expect recovery to gain momentum into the final quarter of the year and especially into 2021. What are they saying there?
Let me jump in there, guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let me jump into there. There are some people, and you're going to have your clients speaking to this. There are some people calling that we're in a recession or about to head into a recession. Okay. Now, that could cause panic in and of itself because it's layered on top of, oh, by the way, we're in one of the largest health crises in American history or world history. All right. So what I want you to understand is what everyone that's calling a recession is calling for is not a recession like we had in 2008 that it took us 5-6 years to recover from. What they're saying is that while we have this coronavirus in our system causing us to shut down, we're going to lose a lot of productivity. But once that passes, and no one knows for sure when that's going to pass, I get that. But most are hoping, and the scientists are expecting, that it will sometime in the middle of this year. And what the financial people that are calling the recession right now say, we're going to snap back immediately. This is not the system collapse. This is an episode that took place. I think your analogy of a snowstorm is perfect. Eventually the snow is going to melt and we're all going to go back to normal. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, we're going to be in much better shape. Now, some people are saying, well, there's so many people losing their jobs. I think the government's doing a pretty good job of making sure those people are going to be okay. They're putting a tremendous amount of stimulus into the market to make sure of that. But I want everyone on this podcast to understand that when this is over, when we can go back out and play, we're Americans, we're going to do that. I know for a fact that when this is over, there are going to people, spouses looking at one another who almost killed each other over the weeks they were forced to be together 24/7. They're going to look at each other and say, you know what? Let's go out for a nice romantic dinner. Let's go back to the restaurant. It's open again. And the biggest challenge you're going to have then is everyone's going to think the same way. Is they're going to have trouble getting a table then. So all the people that are being laid off now, all the people that are having their hours cut, they're going to come rushing back because the demand is going to come rushing back. The airlines are going to come back because right now there are people who've had parents in assisted living facilities that they were not allowed to go visit them. And it might be that it's a 3-hour plane ride away and they couldn't do it and they won't be able to do it for the near future. They're going to get in a plane, they're going to go to wherever their parents are, and they're going to hug them and give them a real hug for the first time in months. That's going to happen. There are fathers and mothers going to grab their kids and bring them to the ball game, whether it be to a Laker game in your town. You know, that arena is going to be full and rocking again, whether it be the baseball stadium in another town, because that's what Americans do. And all those people that are being laid off now, they have to hire them back immediately once this thing is over, because everyone's going to come rushing back out, that pent-up demand for all those things. So it's not the same as like the economy collapsed. It's an event. This snow too shall melt, and everyone's going to go back to work.
Steve, I really want to thank you guys for saying that. It's the same message I've been sharing with people, is reiterating this is a lot more like a tragedy than the whole world just ended. But remember, there's a lot of people out there that make a lot of money telling you the sky is falling. There's a lot of news channels that want to tell you only the bad news, right? And you pick your flavor. They're all the same, right? Every single, both sides of the political aisle, if you will. The thing that I want to remind you of is a lot of lambs told me, I will never get on an airplane again after 9/11. Right? I talked to a friend of mine, just via text, right? And he basically, they sell real estate in Israel. And he's like, how's the general state of people over there? And he said, well, not being political, my friend. He goes, but we're used to sometimes having rockets being shot into our houses and buildings. So, a virus, he's like, hey, every pandemic ends, every virus ends. Keep things in perspective, people, right? Be the calming force, be the lioness, be the lion, don't be the lamb. I'm going to keep saying it to remind you to roar, because this is the time when your community and your family needs you to step up, but I'm getting into my notes. So let's end, guys, with one last question.
Let me, Tom, can I say one thing before we hop to this last question? When we have this conversation, and Tom, the problem I think we may face at certain times is a curse of knowledge. Meaning we may know this, but do our clients know this? Do people that we serve, do they know it? And we can't have that conversation without showing this slide and saying, when people hear the word recession, so many things come into their head and they freak out and they presuppose a lot of things. 2008 is right here in the rear view. And this was the slide that we parked on at the summit in the fall. And we said, hey, is this coming? And again, if you were there, you're well prepared for this. But what we know, for those that maybe haven't seen this, is that in 3 of the last 5 recessions, home prices actually appreciated. In 1991, we saw a little depreciation, but what everybody remembers is 2008.
Yeah.
And that's where that is in our brains. As an industry, we remember it. As consumers, certainly remember it. But I wanted to drop that in there before we moved on, because that is critical that we get that message out in the same way of what actually happens to housing when this happens to our economy.
Yes. I think that slide it could be one of the most important slides for people to take. And guys, I've already asked, people are asking, like, we're going to get copies of all the slides. So where do we go to get all these slides?
We have built a resource page. It's keepingcurrentmatters/coronavirus. They can go there. I'll have these loaded shortly after our time today. Good. Tom, you've got them. You can send them out. Feel free to do whatever. We want to get as much of this information in the market for everyone, so that you can be that voice of reason, that voice of certainty in a time where people are uncertain.
Awesome. Awesome. So let me ask the one last question, and then, so guys, I see some movement on my screen here, but I'm going to ask the one last question that I got this last night, guys. So, hey, should I start calling all my old REO banking relationships? Like, are we going to see a massive spike in foreclosures? Because again, when people hear recession, 2008 is the freshest thing they have in their mind. So guys, are we going to see a massive spike in foreclosures? Did my clients start reaching out to banks and saying, what do I have to do to be on the REO short list?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tom,
David,
I mean,
before
your
you
point
answer
about
that question, David, before you answer the question, Tom, not only do your viewers and your tribe have that question, not does every American. I got a call from an equity firm this morning asking me that question. A Manhattan equity firm, big time firm, saying, listen, are we about to go into all these foreclosures coming forward? And I had to spend 15 minutes on the phone to explain to these money people, no, that's not the case. Thank God David explained to me why it wasn't the case, and that's what he's going to explain to you now.
Absolutely. I think, Tom, your point of people reaching out in that everybody remembers that REO time period. I worked, Steve had mentioned, at the largest holder of REO in this country at the time when that was a strategy. And so we remember that. So let's talk about today. And we're going to go through this. I'm going to say this real quick. This is the subject on today's KCM blog. So let's hop into what we have right now. And I want to read two things. The Federal Housing Administration, FHA, indicated it is enacting an immediate foreclosure and eviction moratorium for single-family homeowners with FHA insured mortgages for at least the next 60 days. That right there is an example of what we learned from 2008. We're seeing the federal government saying, we're going to make a different decision this time. The second piece, the FHFA announced it's directing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to suspend foreclosures and evictions for at least 60 days. So what we're seeing is our industry responding to the challenge that the people that we know and love, the servers, the people that are in the industries that are getting heavily hit right now, and the industries that to come. So in the swift action here, we don't see that wave coming in any way based on some really important action that's been taken. Now, Steve talked just a few minutes ago about literally the difference today in home equity than what it was back in 2008. Not only are we not using cash out refinances to finance life in general, we're at a fraction of that. We know that the equity position is much stronger in this country today than what it was in 2008. And what we know based on the start of this year is that in a good economy that we've started out with rising wages and this lower downturn of interest rates, we're seeing payment as a percentage of income where the historical norm is 21.2%, falling all the way right now in the neighborhood of 14.8%. So as we look at that, and we look at the way that people are viewing the purchase of a home, the ownership and equity build of a home, very, very different than 2008. And to answer the question directly, getting that message out in the market, Tom, is critical right now, because that is what's on the top of everybody's mind.
And to recap that a little bit, Tom, real quick, the government learned a lesson last time because it was much too late in helping people that were suffering through the financial crisis of 2008. You know, they didn't give assistance. They wouldn't even do short sales at the beginning. There was a lot of challenges to it. Now the government's jumping at it. And David, what would you guess? And I know it's a guess, I shouldn't ask you to do this, but if you take all FHA, all Fannie Mae, and all Freddie Mac loans together, what percentage of all the loans in this country would you guess that equates to?
It's certainly greater than 90. It's in the 90, probably low 90% of all the mortgages. So you're looking at the vast majority of mortgages in this country.
So 9 out of 10 of the sellers have already been covered, and they've been covered for at least 60 days. And I think the government is ready to do that. And the next thing is, like, even today, a KCM member who's doing research just on the foreclosure part of it sent me over something right before here that we could make a slide on. New York State just came out and said they're going to do it for at least 90 days. Governor Cuomo said. So I think we're going to see federal and state government realizing the mistakes they made the last time, and they're going to jump in much quicker. Number two, people were much smarter. They learned their lesson. We talked about the equity situation. That was a great question from you, Tom. And number three, the amount of money that they have to pay from their overall income toward that mortgage is less. So what does that mean to us? Well, if there's a husband and wife and one gets laid off, we're in a position now that they're not paying as much of their overall income toward the mortgage, and the spouse that is still capable of working, all right, they're going to be able to pick up that slack, because you also have to remember a lot of other expenses, movie expenses, going to the ball game, concerts, all those expenses, they're going to save on while we're going through this. So we don't see it anywhere near the challenge. And the nice thing is, when I was on with the money people this morning, the equity firms in New York, it took me about 15 minutes, and they came on hysterical. It took me 15 minutes when they're saying, yeah, you're 100% right. I don't understand what we're so afraid of. So all we need to do is realize everyone's a little bit hysterical, and take the information that David just gave you, that Tom, you will make sure they get the slides and everything. Yep. And just have intelligent conversations with people. Back in 2008, I coined a phrase that I'm bringing back. Tell them the truth and trust their intelligence. The vast majority of your sellers and your buyers are intelligent people. They're just like you. Tell them the truth and trust their intelligence. This is a time, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't like talking about business per se, because Tom's 100% right. We have to make sure we have humanity at the top of the list right now. But this is a time when you can build a brand that will last forever. When everyone else is disappearing and hiding under the bed, if you do what Tom's going to tell you to do right now and step up, you're the ones that not only are going to get whatever business is available, you're the ones that are going to live for the rest of your life on the referrals of the people you help right now. And now I'm going to turn it over to you, Tom, because I know you know exactly what to tell them.
Steve, you're taking some of my lines, and I did just write down, tell them the truth and trust their intelligence. I remember that back in 2008 and 2009. So, all right. First and foremost, guys.
Thank you very much for everything you did for us. I appreciate that a lot.
Of course.
Thank you.
So David, one more time. It's keepingcurrentmatters.com/coronavirus.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool.
So what we've done there is we have these questions. I'll put these slides up very quickly, but it's a resource built to have those conversations centered around the questions with, hey, here's the visual to use, in critical today to use the picture's worth 1,000 words. We're seeing trending, a video's worth 1,000 handshakes, like getting that visual out so that people get it. And that's what we're, doing. What we've done always is create those visuals so that people go, okay, I can see that. I get that.
100%. Hey guys, I got to tell you, I'm looking. Go ahead, Steve.
I said, no, I told David, shut up now. I want to hear what Tom has to say.
All right. So first of all, for all my friends out there watching, I want to acknowledge, I already see 94 people have shared this. This is not just a real estate conversation. This is a conversation for people that you care about. This is something that, I'm looking at 94 shares, and I'm assuming that not every one of those are office managers putting it on their inner office private Facebook page. This is just good information for human beings right now, right? So, I like the fact that 94 have shared. I think there should be, because there's literally 28,849 people that have been reached on this message that we're doing right now so far. I think that number is going to grow dramatically over the next 24 hours. I'd encourage you guys to share this if it's right for you. So here's the 5 actions smart agents are taking. And I'm going to do this in 20 minutes or less, knowing that, you've got time scheduled. So first thing I'm going to say to you guys is, now more than ever, Carl Jung, I talked about it last night in my Instagram story, is Carl Jung said, how you feel on the inside radiates to the people on your outside. How you feel on the inside radiates to the people on your outside. You've heard me jokingly say to people, We all know that agent, when they walk inside the office, all the living plants die because they're energy sucking vampires. So now more than ever, the first thing that smart agents are doing is they're increasing their meds on a daily basis. Their meds on a daily basis. What do I mean? Meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. I'm meditating 2 to 3 times a day right now, guys. I'm talking to, between text messages, emails, Slack, private messages, videos, phone calls, conference calls, hundreds of people a day, most of which I'm taking them off the fence, just like Steve did with these financial guys, to getting people back into the right state. Even in some cases, I'm stopping and saying, hey, while we're talking right now, I'm going to put the Calm app on. Let's do a quick 10-minute meditation. You can easily take meditate and put P in front of it, but PEDS just doesn't sound as catchy as meds. But meditation or prayer, that's number one. Number two is you got to exercise on the daily. Steve, I shared and have been watching these videos over and over again of someone that I was inspired by in the 90s, a guy named Jerry Coffey. Jerry Coffey went to Vietnam and was a fighter pilot, and the plane got shot, and he very quickly took that plane and went right out over the water trying to, basically get to safety.
Try to get away.
Right? And the way he described it is at 600 miles an hour, when he got ejected out, he immediately was knocked unconscious, fortunately did all the right things, but still was captured. And spent 7 years in a Hanoi prison, a 6.5, 7-foot cell by 3 feet. And because of his status in the Army, he was tortured every day, beaten every day for information, and every day he exercised. Every day he walked in his cell, every day he did push-ups, and every day they created their own little kind of version of Morse code, and they communicated with the people around them. I love you. Be safe. We're going to get through this together. That guy in that situation can exercise. Some of you need to get off your ass. You with me? In a loving way, the head coach is telling you, you're a lioness or a lion. Exercise. I'm doing it twice a day just to keep myself calm. Diet, common sense. Steve Harney, by the way, down 72 pounds, right? So Steve, I'm so proud of you. I love seeing less of you all the time. Congratulations. But we all know right now that a lot of people will turn to food as a suppressant. Like people turn to alcohol. No, this is not bourbon, right? They're going to do things and they're going to put things in their system trying to basically mask the emotion. Do a meditation or an exercise instead. Eat light, eat right, eat for energy. And the last one is sleep. You've all heard me talk about it. Daniel Amen, who's been on my podcast multiple times, says at 7 hours, your brain actually washes itself. At 7 hours, it washes itself. So those moments in time in your life, and you said, I woke up feeling foggy, it's because you didn't get enough rest. Scientifically proven. You with me? So make sure you're getting enough rest. That's number one. All the smart agents are increasing their meds because how they feel on the inside radiates the people that they're talking to, increases their ability to perform, to help people, to serve, to negotiate, to manage people that are dealing with a crisis. It's up to us, my friends. You gotta step up. Okay, number two.
Hold on, Tom, before you get to number two, you're so on number one. Okay, you're so on number one. And if we take a look at the story of Coffey during the Vietnam War, he was confined. And I remember when you told me that story the first time, in a cell by like 3 by 7 feet.
Yeah.
We have to understand that the last time this country went through this type of challenge was World War II. Our grandparents were asked to go to war the last time we faced a challenge like this. The government right now is asking us to sit on our couch.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than going to war. So all those people, and you hit it just on the head, stop complaining. Listen to what Tom's saying right now. All right? He's telling you that you're asked to sit on your couch, and he's telling you to get up off your rear ends and make something in that. Thank you very much, Tom, for saying that. And thank you for keep on relaying that story about being in a 3 by 7 cell, but still doing the right things.
I promise to. So number two, ready guys? We need to over communicate. We need to over communicate. Your brand will be cemented in stone. And Steve said it earlier. You will get referrals forever because you stepped up and you over communicated while the vast majority of the people are not taking their meds. They're getting panicked and fearful. And when that happens, they stop communicating. They actually jump into a foxhole And that basically takes them out of the business. So I wrote down, ready? Three different types of people. You want to over communicate with your people that are under contract. You want to over communicate with your people that are under contract. Specifically, the language that we talked about yesterday in our negotiation in a crisis was, I'm here for you. I have your back. What would you like to do? I'm here for you. I have your back. What would you like to do? Now, I'm not going to go into all the details of all the scripts, but that is the mindset. These are your customers. Right? If they want to go on pause, I'm going to give you a script in a minute you're going to love. They want to go on pause, let them go on pause. Doing the right thing is always doing the right thing. So that's the first group. The second group, now listen to this. You need to be calling, texting, or sending personal videos to every lead you have in your database. Now, are you texting, calling, and emailing personally and saying, hey, just want to see if you're ready to buy or sell? Don't be a knucklehead. No, you know what you're doing? You're texting them and saying, or sending a personal video, hey, David, I was just thinking about you this morning, and I just wanted to reach out and say, are you okay? Are you okay? Can we help in any way? You know, here at the Tom Ferry Banana Real Estate Team, we're here for you. Let me know. So one of our great clients in Chicago, Dean Russo at Baird & Warner, he and I were chatting this morning. Get this. One of his ISAs, his lead nurturing team, did this yesterday. 147 personal text messages. Immediately got back 3 phone calls. Thank you so much for just reaching out. Let me tell you just how important that was. And 1 new listing and an offer, because the woman said, I'm so glad you guys text. I have to sell my house, and I already know the house I want to buy. Can we just do this virtually? And literally took a listing and wrote an offer yesterday in Naperville, Illinois. I'm not asking you to do it because you're going to get those kind of results. I'm telling you to do it because your brand will be cemented for life, because you were the one that did responsible communication during these times. How are you? I'm checking in. Just want to make sure you're okay. If there's anything we can do, wishing you and your family love from Tom and the team at Banana Real Estate. That's the right thing to do with all your leads. The last thing though, and I want you to write this down, over communicate. I want you calling, texting, personal videos. You're going to do email, but not mass email in this case, to 20 to 30 people a day in your database. I want you off your butt and on your phone and being a communication machine. I was chatting yesterday with Jill Biggs, who's a really good friend of mine and a longtime client and an extraordinary broker in Hoboken, New Jersey. You know what? Everybody, me included, we have moments where we feel fear, right? And I reminded her, hey, when you feel your best, what are you doing? And she goes, I know. She's just such a beautiful human being. She says, I know. We talked about it at the summit. We said, science for Harvard and another professor here at Chapman College, where my son goes, Chapman University, excuse me. Science says, if you want sustainable happiness, you need to do 2 things. Always be learning, because it creates new synapses in the mind, right? Always be learning because you can share something new and powerful with yourself or others. And the second thing is be in a state of contribution for others. Be giving back, helping, making a difference. And she's like, you're right. She's like, I just get on the phone and I start calling people and they're in a panic and I talk them out of it and get them back to normal. Then I feel better. They feel better. Then I call the next one and I just keep doing that over and over and over. And guess what, my friends? Your mandate from the head coach is 20 to 30 people every single day. 20 to 30 people every single day that you're reaching out to and bringing humanity to a time where a lot of people are in a state of crisis. You could be the voice of reason. I'm not telling you to do this just to build your brand. I'm telling you to do it because it's the right thing to do. So number 2 is over communicate. Number 3 is a script. So, I love scripts and dialogues. I'm all about when people say, hey, how's the market? Like, what do you say? Well, right now you don't say the old script. So I'm going to read you a script and then it'll be typed up and my team will make it available, and all my notes as their PowerPoint will be on this page and broadcast everywhere. So if someone says to me, how's the market? Here's the script today. You ready? It's day by day, hour by hour. Some of my buyers and sellers are telling me to hold for now, and I'm supporting them in their decision while I continue to communicate and keep them aware of what's happening in the market. Let me say it to you again. It's day by day, hour by hour. Some of my buyers and sellers are telling me, I want to hold for now. And I'm telling them 100%, I support your decision. And then I'm just continuing to keep them aware of what's happening next. Take a breath, because the next part is, and some of my clients need to sell or buy right now. And we're doing that today with our protocols in place for safety, smart marketing, virtual showings, and more. Let me say it to you again. Some of my clients need to sell or buy right now, and they're doing that with our protocols in place for safety, smart marketing, virtual showings, and more. And then literally you stop and say, but more importantly, how are you and your family doing? I know you're asking me about the market, and I'm telling you, but more importantly, how are you and your family? And is there anything I can do to help? You're going to get the question, oh my God, is the world falling apart? Oh my God, are people I heard that no one is buying. I heard no one is selling. In certain marketplaces across the country and around the world, people are taking a pause. It's like they do during massive snowstorms when you can't even get to the courthouse steps or, on the East Coast to get with an attorney to close the transaction. Right? Steve, you said it best. Tell them the truth and trust their intelligence. How's the market? It's day by day, hour by hour. Some of my buyers and sellers are telling me to hold for now, and I'm supporting their decision while continuing to communicate and keep them aware of what's going on next, because that's what I do. And some of my clients desperately need to sell or buy right now, and they're doing that with our protocols for safety, smart marketing, virtual showings, and more. More importantly, how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? How's your family? Right? Have you reached out to your parents? Right? I think that right now, my friends, is a super appropriate script, and we're going to get it typed up and make it available.
And Tom, you're not gonna probably remember this, but long time ago, when I owned my 13 office, 550 agent company.
Yeah.
You were giving me some great advice at a conference, and you broke it down to me. You said that, listen, humanity, even then you were saying, building the relationship and caring about the people is the single most important thing. But from a business, if we're looking at it purely from a business aspect, there are three things you have to get your agents to do. Number one, you have to get them to prospect for leads. Number two, you got to get them to nurture those leads, not give up on them. And number three, you have to get them to close those leads. Different parts of the country, different parts of the world right now, because I know your community is worldwide. The number three close leads are still available to them. So I love what you said about the fact that, listen, we can still get this done. We still got, but we're going to follow the proper protocols to make sure you're safe, they're safe, and I'm safe, because we're going to make sure all our families are safe. But there are parts of the country that maybe that's already shutting down.
Yes.
Parts of the world, Italy, it's shutting down. So what winds up taking place is that doesn't mean our business shuts down. That means one aspect of the business. What you're teaching them to do is the other 2 points. Let's continue to build leads, our lead sources, and let's continue to nurture them. And those 2 things we can still do if we are trapped in our house for 60 days.
Yes.
We can still do those two things. But ladies and gentlemen, please listen to Tom on how to do it, because there's a lot of stupid stuff going out there right now.
Yes.
That is just ridiculous. Yesterday, there were some agents unknowingly putting out through an automated, social media thing, how to save money when you go to the movies. And the picture on top of the post was like 100 people fit in 50 chairs sharing popcorn. That's inappropriate marketing messaging for this market. So please listen to Tom. Make sure that you have not just that the message is going out, but that the proper message, filled with sensitivity, filled with humanity, and filled with success. Houses are still selling. There are still buyers out there. We just might have to do it a little bit differently.
Yes. Thank you. So last 2, and being mindful of time. Number 4, smart agents right now are taking the time to sharpen their axe. It's a beautiful old story, and I just shared it with my friends at Baird & Warner, and Sarah, who's their head of training, had both of her children sitting there probably, 4 and 6 years old. And I said to them, there's this great old story about 2 axemen working in a lumber mill, and the manager says, I can only afford to pay one of you. Whoever can cut down the most trees today gets the job. And the one guy immediately grabs his axe in a panic and just starts whacking trees as fast as he can. The other one stops, grabs his axe, and starts sharpening it. It takes 10 or 15 minutes to sharpen the axe over and over again. And then he started doing his job. Well, we both know how the story goes. The one that took the time to sharpen the axe got the job. In this environment, for us, sharpening the axe, working on our skills, right? Market, or maybe the globe could be in a crisis right now, but your business doesn't have to be, right? The crisis could be happening around you, but your business doesn't have to be. Just like in Harvard study talking about how do you create sustainable happiness, learning and contribution. Right now, dig into your CRM or your email service provider and all the tools that your company provides. Dig into those and really understand them. Number two, look, I'm not an investor in Zoom, but boy, I wish I was, because look at what's happening to that company. Right now, on Friday, all my coaching clients, we're doing a how to do a virtual listing presentation with Zoom, including like what you saw David doing today, putting slides up and having one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three conversations, virtual showings, virtual buyers. Get really comfortable with Zoom. Now, I know for a lot of my coaching members, God bless you all, we switched as a company 3.5 years ago to video first using Zoom. So I'm very confident all my clients will do that. For some of you, if you've been a little behind the 8 ball, I got some notes for you up here. Be adaptive and do the pivot. You got to be adaptive right now, right? You can't say, I'm not comfortable with. No one cares. You have to be adaptive and change. The business plan you wrote October, November, December of last year, you've thrown in the trash. I told all my clients, just delete it and start over, because now we're in the pivot. And the pivot is about adjusting to today's environment and doing what it takes to make sure that everybody's healthy and safety, right? It's first and foremost that I'm maintaining my brand in the business, and I'm being mindful of the actions I'm taking now for what I'm referring to as backside protection. That whether it's May or in June, when the market turns back on again, that you're positioned and ready to go versus being in a scramble 30 to 60 days behind because you didn't communicate, because you weren't doing the work. You were sitting on your butt watching Netflix when you should be texting and doing emails and learning how to negotiate better, practicing your presentation, working on marketing and getting comfortable with the most important social media channels. Now is the time to be doing Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube and doing it over and over, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Sharpen your axe. Last point. I didn't get a chance to talk this morning to Jason Pantana. I know he'll approve. Jason Pantana leads our Marketing Edge event, which we're now doing virtually, right? Meaning we're bringing it to you broadcasted live, so you can check out more information on that. But right now we're talking about a short-term 30-day marketing plan. So I want to give you 3 things that I expect from all my clients and all the lions and lionesses out there. Number 1, short-term, the next 30 days, you need to be sending an email every week to everybody in your system. Every week, an email. And if you can figure out how to do it always on Monday, or Tuesday being actually the most optimal day for email, Tuesday is really good. They might say, well, what should I put inside there? I guarantee your company is putting out information, slides, the things that David and Steve shared with you today. I would just make those the focal point. Understand this. What people want right now is encouragement, right? What people want right now is some good news. What people want right now is to see your face. And ladies, I love you all. Ready? Everyone knows what you look like. Shoot the video anyway. It doesn't matter what your hair looks like. You with me on this? Like, I'm begging you to let vanity go away and focus on humanity and connection that people want. So I would take for the next couple of weeks these slides, these quotes from KCM, and I would put that in my email. Then I'd shoot a video of me. Could be 1 minute long, could be 15 seconds long, giving people my opinion about the quote. Read the quote, share the quote, give your opinion about the quote, and then ask them to share it with others, to spread the news, to spread the good word. You with me? Do that on a weekly basis, first and foremost. That's my first request. So an email every week in your 30-day marketing plan. Number 2, should you continue to market to your farms? The answer is 1,000% yes. Just be mindful of the tone. Again, I would literally, I don't know if they can do this, Steve, so I hope I'm not breaking any rules of KCM, but I would take the slides that they presented today and I would turn those into my next couple weeks mailers to my database and to my farm, cutting out, hey, this is what happened in 2008, but here's what happened during the 3 other recessions, right? And then, hey, if you're not on my email list, I'm talking about these things daily. Or if you're not following me on Facebook, Instagram Live, I'm doing these things all the time, right? That's the kind of mailing. Like I Googled last night, horrible marketing.
Before you go there, you asked if you were breaking any KCM rules. I give you 2 words for them doing that. Do it.
Good. Thank you. I Googled last night, and I'm not recommending you do this, horrible marketing after tragedies. And if I showed you videos, commercials, marketing pieces that did after, I'm somewhere between crying and wanting to punch people when I saw the mistakes that I saw people making. And Steve, you brought it up with that knucklehead piece that was going out about getting into movie theaters at discounted prices right now. Those people are stupid. Stupid is the only word I can think of, right? I got a piece on Tuesday, right, from an agent in my marketplace who is saying, hey, it's happy St. Patrick's Day. Let's all meet at the bar. Now, here's the problem. You ready? That was an automated piece that they didn't check, and it just went out. So my last point to you is daily on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn right now, people. LinkedIn right now. You need to be doing something positive, right? It could be, listen, positive could be making an announcement on Facebook Live. Hey guys, next Wednesday and Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to do a live Zoom yoga session. Or, hey, on Thursday night, we're going to do happy hour via Zoom. So grab your favorite drink and let's all get together and socialize. See, there's so many things you can do if you're adaptive, if you're willing to adjust, if you're willing to change, and not only bring humanity back to the marketplace, but to also give people what we all want more than anything else, which is connection, right? This isn't about your real estate business or your mortgage business or your startup company. This is about doing the right thing. So ready? Daily positive posting. If you're following me on Instagram, you're seeing I'm posting something every day, sometimes at 9 o'clock at night, sometimes at 7 o'clock, but every day I'm just sharing something. It's getting thousands and thousands of views. And I appreciate that, a spike, because people are looking for something like that from you, from Steve, from David, from myself, all of us. So email once a week, take some KCM stuff, do a video, share your opinion about it. Number 2, continue to mail it to your farms, but mail with the right information, And I've been saying, and I don't know who said it first. It was not me, but this will pass. This will pass, and we will get there together. Like, that's the thing I keep saying to people. It's going to pass. Every pandemic, every virus, it always comes to an end. It always burns itself out, right? We know that. You can study it. It's all documented. This will pass. We're going to get there together. So whether it's tips for yoga or Thursday night cocktail party via Zoom, or, hey, I just watched this thing. I see now, by the way, 419 of you have shared so far this message right here. I think the more good you put into the marketplace, intelligent information into the marketplace, again, your brand will be made in the next 30 days with the actions you take. It'll also be made by the actions you don't take. I'm asking you to be a lion or a lioness. You with me? Do the right thing. You do that, you're going to win, and we will get through this together. All right, my friends, we're done. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you all, and get to work. Now is the time. Over-communicate, take your meds, work on that script, right? Over-communicate with people. Make sure you're sharpening your axe on the daily learning, podcast, listening, right? Now is the time. And at the end of the day, your marketing right now has got to be on point. So pay attention to that. All right, Steve, David, we're over on time. I love you both. Thank you guys. I appreciate you always. And we'll get the slides out to everybody. Take care, my friend. Share this message if it resonates. See you soon.
Thank you.